Good afternoon or good morning, depending on which time zone you've logged in from. I'm Tom D'Amico, Director of Sales for Mediafly, and want to thank you for your interest in today's topic and for carving out time from your busy schedules to attend our webinar. As a housekeeping item, today's session is scheduled for approximately 30 minutes. That may vary slightly based on the volume of questions. Our subject matter expert today will present for most of the session, followed by a brief overview of Mediafly, followed by Q&A. So let's get started by turning things over to Michael Seymour. Michael, take it away.
Thanks, Tom. My name is Michael Seymour, and today I'm going to talk to you about building a business case for sales enablement. I've been doing sales enablement before sales enablement was cool, or actually called sales enablement. For 15 years, I have been working to help sales reps be more efficient and effective in their conversations. Now that's called sales enablement. In addition, I have deep experience in building business cases. Most recently, I built a business case for Oracle and ran a sales enablement function for Oracle. In addition, I have developed over $100 million of investment via business cases for both mergers and product acquisitions and investments, along with IT projects. So I'm going to share with you some tips and techniques I've learned about developing a business case and some specifics for sales enablement. So how would you justify an investment in sales enablement? You would justify that investment the same way you would justify another investment, either via cost savings or revenue increase. Cost savings is the typical way you would justify an investment for an IT project. It's kind of tried and true. The concept is you will make people more efficient, you will reduce headcount, or maybe you'll automate a process and it will justify the investment in some sort of technology or system or application. Alternatively, revenue increase is also a way to justify investment in sales enablement. Revenue increases are kind of a little bit more of the way you should justify investments, but typically are done for like an acquisition or a product investment, but they can be used for a sales enablement investment because sales enablement can increase revenue. Revenue increases sometimes are met with skepticism by executives though, so keep that in mind as you develop your business case. The reason being is executives have been burnt with the promise of revenue increases from IT projects. Also, the first thing that'll happen when you talk to an executive about an investment in sales enablement that drive a revenue increase is they'll turn to sales and say, hey, sales, will you sign up for this revenue increase? And sales is always reluctant to sign up for additional revenue. So with that in mind, what are the steps associated with building a business case? Well, the steps for building a business case are basically the same as they would be for any non-sales enablement type business case. However, there are three areas I want to call out where special attention needs to be paid for sales enablement. So the first step would be to identify stakeholders. Stakeholders for sales enablement is a little bit more complicated than it is for other areas because sales enablement is a new function, as I mentioned. It's really only started to appear in organizations in the last couple of years. And sales enablement might have vested stakeholders in sales, in marketing. There might be a sales productivity organization or sales university function, or also sales operations, even corporate marketing might be interested in this, or product development. So you want to make sure you identify those key stakeholders. The next thing you want to do is you want to obtain an executive sponsor and use this executive sponsor throughout the process. Ideally, somebody not in your organization that's going to sponsor this initiative. The third step, again, a little specialized for sales enablement, is to benchmark your current state, understand your metrics of where you are. This is unique for sales enablement because sales enablement is a new function and maybe metrics are not something that's part of the core part of the operation, or maybe it's just, data-driven decisions aren't quite embedded in the organization because it is new. So you want to make sure you benchmark those current state. And we'll talk a little bit about what metrics to look at on the next slide. After you benchmark your current state, you want to make a hypothesis. You want to say, hey, if we make an investment in sales enablement, we are going to make sales reps more efficient and effective and drive revenue. From there, you would model that hypothesis in Excel. So you would put your Excel geek hat on and create those formulas. Don't make it too complicated, but really do look at multiple cases of what it would look like based upon those metrics you gathered. From there, you'd like to do a peer review, stakeholder review, management review. You probably should be doing this throughout the entire process so far, but this is just a good place to do it once you've created that model. Start selling your business case to these stakeholders. And one thing I always like to do is I always like to incorporate a little bit of feedback from each stakeholder, because once they see a piece of feedback in there, it becomes their business case, and they're excited about it and more likely to sign off. From there, you would finalize and present your business case, but then it wouldn't be over, because you would need to revisit your business case and measure the impact and compare it to your actuals and share that with the team. So what metrics would you want to look at? Well, sales enablement metrics. Again, sales enablement is a new function, so what those metrics are, is still developing. And I'm going to talk about 5 metrics where there's probably 100 metrics that you may want to look at, depending upon your organization, its maturity, and what type of metrics you think are important. But here are 5 that I feel as though they can drive the discussion around sales enablement and creating a business case. The first one is marketing qualified lead to sales qualified lead conversion ratio. This measures the impact of that first touch a sales rep has with a customer. And if you increase this, you're going to have more leads, more opportunities, and more deals. The one thing about this is this metric can be a little noisy if marketing's dropping a lot of leads into your funnel that aren't all that useful. The next one is average sales cycle, also known as deal velocity. Almost every B2B and B2C organization is focused on reducing the average sales cycle. Why? Well, sales managers know that if they can get that sales cycle reduced, they can deploy their reps on more deals and drive more revenue. In addition, by blocking out, by having a shorter sales cycle, you can block out competitors. So they're keenly interested in doing this, and they will take long steps to actually do this. My experience is sales enablement will actually reduce that average sales cycle, and I've seen specific results of that. The next metric is my personal favorite metric to use for sales enablement business cases, number of opportunities. I like to use number of opportunities because it's a very clear metric. While the metrics on the screen, sales management will understand, other people in the organization may not, but everybody understands opportunities. The more opportunities you have, the more deals you can close, the more revenue you can generate. So if you can play around with that metric, you can actually justify that revenue. It's very easy to understand. The other 2 metrics are slightly more complicated. First one I want to talk about is win rate of forecasted opportunities. So this metric is sales management or a sales rep will forecast that will close an opportunity. What is the actual win rate of that forecast? And CSO Insights, which is like an analyst firm, benchmarks this, and they benchmark this at 46%. So that means a sales rep or a sales manager will say, I'm going to close this deal. And actually, only 46% of the time do they close this. This is across all B2B companies. And this is, if you think about that, that's actually a real problem that they can only forecast correctly half the time. This metric is a really powerful metric, and small changes to this metric can drive tangible results to your bottom line. The problem with it is 1, not everybody measures it, and 2, not everybody really understands this metric. It's kind of complicated, so sometimes if you use this in a business case, if it's not part of your organizational thought process, you're going to spend a lot of time explaining what this is. So keep that in mind as you develop your business case. The last metric, is unique and different from the other metrics on the screen because the other ones are something you can calculate or derive from your CRM system, whereas this last metric is something you're going to have to use softer methods to determine. It is % time spent on non-selling activities.